You're probably like me who's heard the phrase, a penny saved is a penny earned. It is a true statement, and it can be a true statement, but too often in our world, it's not a true statement. Too often in our world is what occurs is I save a penny, and as I'm trying to get it to be an earned penny, I spend that penny on something else. So all I do is I take it from one expense and shift it to another expense. I'm no better ahead, I'm no further ahead, and it just leaves me in the same exact boat that I was before I saved that from this one activity and shifted it over here. We had Carlotta Thompson. I interviewed her. It's one of the other videos you can watch on my channel here. And she said that a dollar saved in taxes is $7 in revenue for a business. That's what it equates to. That's how big of an impact it can be to save taxes. True statement, but if you spend that saved dollar on something else, you haven't actually earned the $7 in revenue. The only way to make these statements true is for you to shift it from an expense and move it to something that either you value and need, or into something that's going to grow and create wealth for you in the future. If you don't complete that shift, all you've done is move it from one expense into another expense, which isn't what we're trying to accomplish. It's not what you want. And so this often leaves people stuck in the same situation because there are hundreds, probably thousands of great tax attorneys, tax accountants, strategists, money-saving people. It's marketed all over the place. Save money here, save money here, save money here. Yet how many people are actually living the fruits of those savings? Because the fruits of those savings can be millions of dollars over a 20, 30-year period, but too often they're getting spent on other things. So let me show you the way that we approach it and the way that most people right now approach it, and what I think is the problem, and then a solution for how to solve this problem and actually make a penny saved a penny earned, or to go with Carlotta's language, a tax dollar saved to $7,000 of revenue. How can I actually complete that shift so that it benefits you now and in the future? So here's what happens a lot of times. You'll have the ability to have a dollar that was assigned to be a tax bill, so it was going to be an expense, get saved. So you don't have to pay the tax bill anymore because you met the criteria of the tax code and you now get to keep that dollar. But what happens is that dollar just falls into what I like to call the void. It doesn't have a job. It doesn't have a purpose. It's just sitting in someone's checking account or someone's savings account, and it's not assigned to do anything. And when it's in this void, the longer it's in the void, the greater chance it'll be spent on something that you don't actually value, that doesn't build wealth, and it turns it from one expense into another. So the longer it's here, the greater chance it will just be spent on some other expense. So all you did was shift it from this expense to this expense. That doesn't help you grow wealth or accelerate your situation. You just transferred an expense from one dollar to another. Now, the impact of this can be pretty dramatic, and the reason that I care about this so much is because I help people plug their money leaks. I believe that you are your greatest asset, that you and your impact on this world can be greater because the more you get money right, the better father you can be, the better mother you can be, the better business owner you can be, the better impact you can leave on society. But if all you're doing is you're taking these saved dollars that we're helping you get and transferring them to something else that's an expense that doesn't really further your ability to be a great father or further your ability to be a great business owner or further your ability to bring value to this world, then we haven't done our great job. And so, in my opinion, this is just as important as helping you save the dollar, is helping you shift it to something that's going to grow for you. So let me just give a scenario of someone. So we help people business owners access the research and development tax credit. And for this example, let's just say Joe, the business owner, he qualified for the R&D credit and he got $5,000 off his taxes. So he saved $5,000 in taxes. And then we help him with his merchant services. And instead of him paying $40,000 that he was paying in merchant service fees, he now gets to keep those. So now we're at $40K. Now we're at $45,000 saved. And then we help him implement a wellness credit in his business, which saves him an additional $7,000 in his business. and we add that all up, and we've helped Joe save $52,000. That's great. That's $52,000 that, if it's not in the system that I'll show you in just a little bit, is just sitting in the void. And it's likely that the $52,000 will get spent on this business expense or this thing or that thing, and all of a sudden, before Joe knows it, this $52,000 is gone and unavailable to Joe in the future. And the issue is that 52,000 just missed out on hurts once, but look what happens over a 10-year period. So if we look 10 years in the future, we save Joe $52,000 every year for 10 years because he keeps qualifying for the R&D credit. He keeps those merchant expenses low. He keeps using the wellness program. These things are repeatable. They're not just one-time things. That means that Joe has now spent or moved $520,000 over a 10-year period from one expense to another expense, meaning the 520 is out of his grasp and he can't do it again. So that's a lot of money. And that doesn't include the fact that if we shifted this $520,000 into something that actually was valuable for him or could be in his wealth, we're talking about millions upon millions of dollars that is in Joe's favor instead of just being gone from him. And so to me, this is one of the biggest pieces. It's not enough to help you save money. We also have to take the next step. We also have to help you keep that money and get it growing for you. Shift it towards wealth and shift it towards value creation. Because those are the things that are going to replicate it. And those are the things that have interest rates on them. And those are the things that are going to make your maximum potential go from 3 million, 4 million nest egg to a 10 or a 15 or a 20 million, because these small changes are what make the difference, at least in our mind. That's what makes the biggest difference. But if you let it stay in the void, it's not going to shift for you. So the question is how do you do this? How do you shift it and not let the money stick in the void where it gets lost and we lose out on $520,000 of future growth and future wealth creation just because we shifted it from one expense to the next? What's the solution there? And I think the best solution is to start thinking and creating automations around money and start to think like water. The way that we do water management is an extraordinary example of how we can handle our money. So for example, I live in a very dry state in the United States in Utah. In Utah, we have to create reservoirs for our water because we go through long periods of no rain and it causes issues. And we'll go through years upon years of drought where we don't get a lot of snow and it just causes a lot of issues. So the rivers are going to fluctuate heavily. So one of the ways that they handle water is you'll have a river that's flowing along and they're going to create a reservoir by putting a dam in place. And so we'll create a nice reservoir of water that is for future use. It's for future protection, future use of the water, so that in the rough years we have extra water to use and drink and don't run out of water. And then through the dam, the river continues on and flows to where it's going. If the river was just flowing like this, it's nice because we can use the money or we can use the water all along the way, but what happens is if the river dries up, now we're out of luck. So this solution doesn't work very well for water management, but the reservoir does, because if we go through a dry period, we're going to pull from the reservoir and be able to survive. If we think of the flow of money in our lives in this way, it's going to be better for us, specifically if we create automations around it. So if we think of our money flowing in the same way that we think of a river, so when I make money or when I save money, all of those saved dollars are going to pass through the same system. It's going to flow along, and instead of continuing on this path where it just flows all the way into the checking account and gets spent in the moment, if we create a reservoir for ourselves upriver, where we have a dam that stops the flow for a second, captures any extra savings, and then the flow continues into our checking account, is what will happen over time. This is where the $520,000 gets captured over that 10-year period. Now this 520 is not exposed to our spending habits or unconscious spending, but it's here where we can use it and get it working in bigger ways. So we can get it into things like insurance, or we can get it into investments, or we can get it back into our business, things that will make us more money. And so what will happen is from the reservoir, we pull it out, and it's going to be things that make us more money. So it adds to our flow. And then this keeps just happening over and over and over again. And eventually we've created an extraordinary system where it doesn't impact our life, it doesn't impact our daily spending, but we are creating money out of the dollars that we saved. This is how you transfer and make a penny earned, a penny saved, an actual penny earned. If you don't have systems in place that automatically does this for you, where your flow of money is this is the way you flow your money, you're not going to see that 520,000 with our example with Joe. It's just going to disappear because the 520 would be here exposed to whatever comes our way. We may have the best intentions for this 520,000. We may have wanted it to go to this investment or that back into our business or to XYZ, but because it's everything here is exposed to everything in life. Unconscious spending, this emergency, this opportunity, this cool software, that cool car, this cool trinket, and it disappears on you. And so you're not maximizing your potential. This enables you to maximize your full potential. It keeps those saved dollars with you. And here's the best part that I love about this system. Let's say there is a dry spill and you have the 520 in your reservoir. You can open the dam a little bit to let some of the 520 out to sustain you in the periods. Transfer, shift an expense towards a wealth building activity. Do not allow your dollars to shift from an expense to an expense. This individual, this example, by putting this in place just for Joe, is going to be $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, probably even $10 million difference for Joe over a 30-year period because he got to keep the dollar with him. So, a penny saved is a penny earned. True statement. Only if you have the systems to make it happen. $1 in tax savings is $7 in revenue. Only if you have the systems in place to make it happen. Don't just focus on saving money. Focus on saving money and shifting the money towards things that build it, to build wealth and value for you. And the easiest way to do that is to create this flow of money where you have automations in place that build the reservoir for you and enable you to actually capture it and make the conscious choice to go with it. I hope this video is valuable for you. I hope you saw the power behind shifting an old expense towards a wealth creation, because that's where the power lies, and that's what we focus on, is not only helping you save money, but helping you turn that saved dollar into something that's much greater, a $5 or $6 or $7 or $10 down the road. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions, please reach out. Looking forward to future discussions with you and bringing you more value down the road.